Hello and welcome back to another Gunpla review. Today we're taking a look at the high-grade Universal Century G3 and Char 2-pack. That's not the official name, but it's definitely a lot shorter, so let's go with that. Now, this is based on the novel version of the original series, in which Amuro pilots the G3 Gundam, and Char gets a Dom instead of the Zeong, so yeah, very interesting set. Now, this is a 2-pack, but I will still be going through things in the regular order. I'll just be going with one kit, then the other, and then going on to the next section. So let's start off by taking a look at the Gundam. Okay, starting off, keep in mind this is one of the original high grades, so it's a little bit crusty. The head is technically on a ball joint, so you get a little bit side to side, get a wiggle. Yeah, that's as far up as it looks. That's as far down as it looks. You do get a full rotation though, which is nice. I'm just going to take these off because they're going to fall off otherwise. But yeah, full rotation. Then for the shoulders, you get a bit of movement to the front. Then put 90 degrees out to the side, rotation, obviously. Then another pretty tight rotation here at the bicep. And 90 degree elbow. The hands, as usual, are on a ball joint, though the ball joint is a little bit deep in there, so you don't get a ton of movement unless you pull it out a bit. Then moving on to the waist, you get about that much movement. And you can pull it up a little bit to get a bit of a tilt to either side, and there's actually a separate piece in here with a bit of detailing so that it doesn't just have a massive gap. But yeah, no ab crunch at all. It's completely solid. Now, moving on to the hips, let's get it out of the way. You can separate these front skirts. You get 90 degrees out to the front, no problem, which is good. Not a ton to the back, but it's enough. And side skirts don't matter because the hips are ball jointed, so you only get 45 degrees out to the side anyway. Also, these ones are particularly annoying for rotation because there's no real cut in here to give it that little bit more to the side, so you don't get a ton out of it, but it's not horrible. Double jointed knee for 90, slightly like 92 degrees. Then the ankles have a forward back hinge and a ball joint which gets a tiny bit to either side, and pretty good to the back, not a ton to the front. Also, this is on a hinge, a little bit loose, but it is there. So I mean, the articulation's not great. It's not horrible, but it's definitely an old high grade, and unlike the Dom, this isn't a bulky enough suit to really get away with that, in my opinion. Then moving on to the Dom, it's just a regular high-grade Dom, so you get the movable mono-eye. You look up, down a little bit, other side. It's just on a little arm that goes up to a downward-facing ball joint. It's pretty easy to move that around, and very slightly annoying to get it completely centered again, but let's not worry about that. Then for the actual head itself, you get up and down a tiny bit, and left and right a tiny bit, and that is not very... it's a little bit tight on this one, in fact. But yeah, there's not a ton of movement going on there, but I mean, it's a Dom, it doesn't exactly have a neck, does it? The shoulders actually get pretty good movement, though. You get really good to the front there, that's not a problem. Over 90 degrees out to the side, full rotation. The shoulder armor itself is a separate piece. Then you get a rotation at the bicep, a 90 degree bend at the elbow, which is fine for a Dom, and ball jointed wrists. As for the waist, bit of a front to back movement, a little bit of a side to side movement. Basically no rotation, but that's because it's basically a rectangle, so you're not going to get much of a movement there. There's a little bit of a weird semi-joint thing going on up right here, where you get a tiny bit of movement there, but it's not really enough to even mention. The skirts are just solid, to be honest. There's no real movement there, but it doesn't really matter because you get, you know, almost 90 degrees out to the front, plenty to the back, 45-degree splits. Then for the knee you get, you know, 90 degrees, which is fine. And it has the same ankle joint as the Gelgoog, so you get, you know, absolute ton of movement in there. So front to back, side to side, and then the foot itself is on a ball joint, so you get plenty of movement there. Really good to either side, and really the only problem is that sort of bell bottoms get in the way of the backwards movement, so it starts scraping against the floor. But overall, pretty good articulation. Now moving on to accessories, let's start off as always with the sticker sheets, and by extension color correction. First of all, let's just go over these. You get black and white sort of warning stickers. Actually, I've never read these, so let's see if I can get that in focus. Yeah, it's just caution, and you just can't even read the white ones, but I'm pretty sure it says the same thing. Just focus back, there we go. A couple of Earth Federation ones in white, G3, EFSF, more G3 stuff, and then these ones are for the Dom, including these warning triangles, which is nice. So, you know, it gives it a little bit of a real grade feel, though, again, a little bit crusty for a real grade, but hey, you know, stickers. And then we move on to the stickers for color correction, and, yeah, this old Gundam is real crusty. If you'll notice, the head cameras are fine. It's just a metallic red and they go in perfectly fine. There's no problem with those at all. Unfortunately, the eye stickers, and I do say stickers, are two separate stickers, and I do not understand why they did that. It just doesn't really work, and also they always pop up, and I'm not really sure why, but they do not want to sit flush. So, honestly, this is one kit that I would definitely recommend painting. I didn't want to bother with the eyes, but I did paint the little crotch V because this is actually a metallic yellow, which works for the Dom, which we'll get into in a minute. But for these bits, yeah, it's more of a flat yellow. That one is for here, and then the other ones that are around it are for the shield. Which, this is gray plastic, the dark gray. So yeah, that needs to be painted because the stickers don't look that good, but otherwise, this thing is good. It doesn't really require very much. I mean, the joints need to be colored in, but that's not a big deal. But pretty much everything else is color accurate. There's not really anything else on this that needs to be painted. Unlike the Dom, which not that big of a deal. You get, you know, the small one for the Mono-Y, and then this yellow one here for the scatter gun on the chest. These ones are for scopes, so I'll with these now. But yeah, in order to make this the Char Dom, there's a lot of color and accuracy going on here. Pretty much all of the thrusters are supposed to be gray, and they're not, they're brown. And then the joints in the limbs here and in the knee are brown, and they're supposed to be light gray. So if you don't feel like painting that, you can always just buy a regular Dom and steal them from that, but yeah, otherwise you're gonna have to be painting joints, and that is never fun because it always scratches off. Also, let's actually get into the accessories, because I do have to point this out. The heat saber and the clip for it on the back are supposed to be the same light gray, and, well, they're brown. So you're either going to have to paint these or, again, steal them from a regular Dom. And of course you always have to paint the red in the thruster bells and inside of these leg bell bottoms, so yeah, it's a lot of paint that has to go into this to be fully color accurate. And we're not done yet. But I'll go over the other stuff that needs to be painted as we go through the accessories. Let's start off with the stuff for the G3. Start with the beam rifle and the trigger finger hand. And yeah, the scope needs to be painted. Thankfully this is a decently tight fit, so it doesn't wiggle too much, and of course it's just a ball joint. You can easily swap that out, and holds it fine, no real problems there. Scope moves, secondary handle moves, but it can't really hold on to it, but you know, it's there. Of course you get, you know, two holding hands, which can obviously hold the beam sabers, which by the way, nice and tight. They're not going anywhere. And this does have unique beam effects. Well, they come on the runner. They're just the old style beam sabers. These ones fit nice. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a problem where if you use a more modern beam effect, it's a little bit loose. To put it mildly, it's not gonna... Okay, make a liar out of me. It will fall out. These more modern, nicer beam effects do not like these hilts at all, so you're kind of stuck using these short ones, which, I mean, to be fair, doesn't look too bad next to this, but yeah, it's not great. Next up, let's bring back in the shield and just go over the fact that this is ball jointed on, so it can rotate around. You can actually hold it in the hand. It's not amazing, but you can kind of do it. Unless the back of the hand falls off like this. You can of course just peg this onto the arm and it sits on there nice. Ball joint means that you can actually rotate it around pretty well. And you can actually store this on the back because there is a peg hole there. So you may want to use that to put this up on a stand since there's no actual peg hole for a dedicated stand. And finally, for the Gundam, you get a bazooka, which this piece is separate and can move for some reason, but the handle can't. So good luck getting this up over the shoulder. It's not an easy task. In fact, I'm not going to bother trying because it's a bit annoying. That said, you can flick this little panel off and just plug it in just like the Revive, so you can at least store it on the back, which is nice. And finally, there is one nice little bonus that this Gundam comes with that the Revive doesn't. A little core fighter, which is nice. Now, I did a bit of painting on this, the dark gray here and the light gray. That's paint. It's just two colors, but yeah, it's nice that it includes it. It's fairly simple and not that hard to paint up if you want to do that. And it's a nice little bonus accessory that it comes with. Now, moving on to the Dom, obviously you get, you know, heat saber, and this just fits in the hand pretty well. It's actually pretty nice connection. Like it doesn't wobble at all. And it is, well, not color accurate in this. It is at least two different pieces, meaning the yellow is plastic, which is nice. And this can just store in that little clip on the back. It's not a super secure connection or anything, but we're so long it's not like it's going to fall out anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now, aside from that, you have a few different things. I just want to do this now so I don't forget about it later. You do actually have a polycap in there to use as a 3mm peg hole for any stands you want to put it up on, and you do get a little cap that goes on that, though. Like I said in my standalone Dom review, there's no real reason for it, since you can't really see it anyway, and this just actually sticks out more. So there's no real reason to use that, but hey, it's nice that they include it. Aside from that, you do get two holding hands, an open splayed hand, which, as again I mentioned in the regular Dom review, this thing has a ton of nub marks that you gotta clean up. And finally you get a kind of loose trigger finger hand, which fits on the pretty nice, get out of the way, beam bazooka, which for the Char Dom is in the right color. Unfortunately, that means that the other accessory, which isn't even taken off the runner, so I'll just bring it in now, you do get the regular bazooka, and this isn't in the right color. This is supposed to be a light gray, just like the Heat Saber. So yeah, honestly, if I remember correctly, he doesn't even use the regular bazooka in the novel, so there's no real reason to worry about color correcting it, but yeah, this, by the way, isn't nearly as loose when it's actually up over the shoulder. It's just being loose in the hand like this does make it a little bit floppy. If you actually get it up over the shoulder, it's a bit nicer. Still a little bit floppy, but I mean, can't really expect too much. It's not going to fall out of the hand at least, which is good. Which is actually kind of a problem with these DOMs, is the peg here that goes into the thumb, both on the trigger finger and the holding hands, is a little bit on the loose side. I find that specifically on this Char Dom, the trigger finger hand is pretty alright, but yeah, these holding hands don't really hold together super well. So keep that in mind. And as for a quick size comparison, Gundam is kind of the standard size, obviously. One thing you want to notice is that they're pretty much the same height. The Gundam and the Dom are about the same height. It's just, you can really see how much bulkier the Dom is when you have them next to each other. So to wrap this, I'm sure, very long review up, should you get these kits? If you like the novel, go for it. There's a few problems, namely the color inaccuracies on, well, both of them, but the ones on the Dom are a bit more egregious. One quick thing I do want to point out is that the Dom is not the usual Char pink. It's actually a more desaturated color, which I didn't expect, but it kind of works with the G3, having the two together. Having a more dulled color scheme on it kind of makes them fit together a lot better. So I thought I would complain about that, but actually it looks quite nice. And while the high-grade Dom has aged, frankly, insanely well, this old Gundam is a little bit on the crusty side, and has quite a few problems related to mold degradation that the Dom really doesn't have. Also, the hands look a lot worse, but that's not really a big deal. The beam sabers don't really like to stay in the backpack, which is a problem. One of the panels on the hip skirt fell off and had to be glued in order to stay on. And it has a lot of really visible seams on it. So it's not really one of my favorite Gundams, let's put it that way, but it is probably my favorite color scheme for the G3, so if you don't mind putting in a little bit of work, though honestly at that point just buy a Revive and paint that to go with the Dom, because the Dom is actually really nice. Yeah, I can recommend getting it. But anyway, that's been all for this review. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, it helps a lot. Subscribe for future reviews and watch my backlog. Go follow me on Twitter for updates, and consider supporting me on Patreon so I can keep bringing you reviews, just like this one. And as always, until next time, happy building.